Tonight, an upgrade of the foreshore at the top of Whyalla Council's state election priorities, and Southern Launch signs up its latest customer.
From our 7 Spencer Golf Studios, your nightly news with John Hunt begins now.
Good evening. Whyalla City Council is using the upcoming state election to secure financial support to revitalise one of the city's popular tourist attractions. It's calling on both major parties to make a one-time investment towards the redevelopment of the foreshore.
It's a call for an investment towards a major revitalisation project in the Upper Spencer Gulf. The Whyalla City Council seeking a $20 million funding commitment from both major political parties ahead of next month's state election.
We want to have a commitment from the government so that we can start to develop our foreshore area. We've had some fantastic consultation with our community in regards to what they want to see down at the foreshore.
The proposal forming part of the Foreshore Master Plan, which they say was shaped by extensive public consultation of close to 2,000 responses. Whyalla's mayor says she doesn't want the full burden of the project to fall on ratepayers.
We know it's going to be an expensive exercise with the development of our Foreshore Master Plan, so we want the government to help contribute towards that, and $20 million is a big ask.
The member for Giles says Labor will consider any proposal given to them by Council in regards to the foreshore projects. He also says when Labor were last in power, $200 million was used in discretionary spending in Whyalla.
We will look at this in government, and we want to see the detail and the costing. But we've got a very strong record in government of supporting Whyalla.
The Liberal Party is yet to announce a candidate for the seat. Mark Zita, 7 Spencer Golf News.
A COVID cluster has delayed some students' first day back at school. Stirling North Primary School has been forced to close one of its reception classes to avoid COVID transmission. 9 students and a teacher have tested positive for the virus. Following guidance from SA Health, the class will be closed for 3 days. With a lack of relief teachers in the region, the school says making sure there are qualified people to lead their classes remains their top priority. A routine traffic stop over the weekend quickly turned into a drug bust for Broken Hill police officers. Police say they seized a quantity of illegal drugs, with the driver now set to face court.
A productive weekend for Barrier District Police. At about 5 p.m. on Saturday, a man was stopped 10 kilometres west of Broken Hill for a random breath and drug test. The driver allegedly returning a preliminary positive result. The officers searched the vehicle after speaking to the 52-year-old driver, allegedly finding a quantity of cannabis.
That vehicle stop culminated in a search which located 2.3 kilos of cannabis.
The Broken Hill resident was arrested and charged with possessing an indictable quantity of the drug. He was granted conditional bail and will appear in Broken Hill Local Court in March. Police vowing to continue clamping down on those doing the wrong thing.
And it just reinforces the message that you never know where or when you could be stopped by police, and if police have sufficient grounds, then they'll conduct further investigations around that.
Meanwhile, in an unrelated incident, Broken Hill's Centre for Community was one of 4 businesses to be broken into in 3 days. Police say the centre's volunteers were devastated that the building and its offices were targeted. Investigations are continuing into the incident.
Well, police in Broken Hill are actively investigating those matters. We're certain that we will identify those who are involved and put those matters before the court.
Anyone with information is urged to contact Crime Stoppers. Joshua Mercer, 7 Spencer Golf News.
A new agreement has been reached for a new company to use the Whalers Way rocket launching complex near Port Lincoln. A European factory will be heading down under to use the facilities as part of a deal with Southern Launch.
The next giant leap for space exploration on the Lower Eyre Peninsula. Southern Launch announcing a new partnership with Rocket Factory Augsburg.
And one of the very promising companies we've been working with is a company called Rocket Factory Augsburg from Germany. They are a subsidiary of a very large satellite manufacturer.
However, the German company will have to prove themselves before taking to the skies.
If they can demonstrate that they have a very high throughput of rockets and they need their own facility, then we will then enter into a discussion as to whether they take over one of the proposed launch pads.
Last year's initial launch didn't go to plan, with one of the rockets catching fire during takeoff. However, the company is hopeful the next one will be ready to go in coming months.
Our hope is that we are able to launch the second and third vehicles before the middle of this year. That's our goal.
This expedition carrying a unique purpose, which will also benefit our region.
So our goal is to capture this noise information because it's important to understand if or how that will affect any of the local bird life or any other mammals in the area.
Henry Millick, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Still to come tonight, police dealing with a spate of bike thefts in Port Augusta. And a safe space for women fleeing abusive relationships opens in Port Pirie. Welcome back. Police are advising Port Augusta residents to be on the lookout for bike thieves. Officers are reminding locals of the importance of locking up after a recent spike in the opportunistic crime. Edward McCarroll has more.
Port Augusta Police are reminding community members to stay vigilant with a wave of bike thefts currently striking the city. They say now is the time for cyclists to be proactive and get their bike frame marked for easy identification.
That can be either by etching or an ultraviolet pen. We generally like people to put their driver's licence number and prefix with S for South Australia.
However, SAPOL says the best way to deter thieves is still a good quality D-lock.
Buy a quality bike lock and lock the frame and the wheels to a solid object.
The most secure way to lock your bike being through the rear wheel and around the frame. Locking both stops thieves from simply removing the wheel to access the rest of the bike.
When you're not using your bike, make sure it's locked in a lockable shed, kept in a lockable shed or in your house, and never leave it unattended without locking it.
Police say bike thefts frequently occur during the daytime and in public settings.
Anyone with information in relation to bicycle theft, please call the police assistance line on 131 444.
Police say while bike locks are tricky to carry on rides, they are your best chance at deterring thieves and avoiding a long walk home.
New data has revealed more than $83,000 has been collected from rogue fishers who failed to obey restrictions in South Australia over the summer. The Primary Industries Minister says he is disappointed by the high amount of expiation notices.
Fishers across South Australia caught red-handed. New state government statistics have shown more than 150 people were fined for recreational fishing offences during the summer holiday period.
Maybe these people have just been oblivious to that and have just gone ahead with what they've been doing in the past, and hopefully these big fines will stop them going forward.
In those 2 months alone, 165 expiation notices were issued, totalling more than $83,000. 114 of those incidents were in relation to taking blue swimmer crabs, which is a popular activity in Spencer Gulf waters.
The fine shouldn't be what stops people doing this. It's actually understanding the need to allow the fishery to operate in a natural way, allow the smaller crabs to grow.
A representative from the Stakes Peak recreational fishing body calling for anglers to be more responsible when out on the water.
If everybody abides by those bag limits, size limits, etc., the resource is sustainable. But once you get individuals and sometimes groups of people taking more than their limit, it puts an undue strain on that resource.
For more information on bag and size limits, visit Purse's website. Mark Zeta, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
A women's safety hub named Haven has officially opened in Port Pirie today as a place of support for victims of domestic violence. The hub will also help vulnerable women get safe accommodation, financial security and a career pathway.
A safe place for women in need.
Haven has opened at the Port Pirie Community Centre, serving women who are experiencing all forms of domestic abuse and violence. One of the hub's main priorities is helping vulnerable women finding a safe place to live.
Some people are in crisis and might need to flee immediately if that's the safety risk that's assessed, versus some people who might need some assistance with planning to leave.
Experts saying the COVID pandemic has increased the number of domestic violence cases due to victims being isolated.
Domestic violence was much more intense during lockdowns because it's hard for people to get to their phones. They're all together. There's often, a lot more stress being all under the same roof and not being able to leave.
Uniting Country SA also seen an increase of abuse in the form of financial control, where women aren't given the freedom with their own money or possessions.
There are some funded options, and one of them currently available is escaping violence payment. Okay, so that's where an individual who's subject to these types of things can access about $5,000 worth of goods.
Uniting Country continuing to break down the stigma through social media so more women don't feel ashamed for seeking help.
The big barrier is what if so-and-so knows, or what if so-and-so sees? And, we're really trying to smash that sort of stereotype because it gets in the way of some legitimate good treatments.
Christian Komenos, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
And if you or someone you know is experiencing domestic violence or abuse, support is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Please call 1-800-RESPECT. That's 1-800-737-732 for free and confidential over-the-phone counselling. The first transmission poles have been installed for a $2.4 billion interconnector project. Energy Connect will see 380 towers weighing 10,000 tonnes raised along the 206-kilometre route from South Australia to the New South Wales border. The Energy Minister says the project will become the longest high-voltage transmission line built in Australia and transform South Australia into a renewable energy export superpower. The state government says construction will promote economic growth and create job opportunities in the region. Broken Hill school children will share in more than 15,000 back-to-school vouchers. Foundation Broken Hill is one of 9 organisations in New South Wales distributing the vouchers from the Foundation for Rural Regional Renewal. They will be handing them out to the Broken Hill, Wilcannia and Menindee communities. Now in its 18th year, the Back to School programme has helped in excess of 216,000 students and families and distributed more than $10.7 million. Stay with us. More pain on the way at our local supermarkets as beef prices soar. And man's best friend the focus of a new Whyalla Council survey. There's more pain at the checkout when we next go shopping, with beef prices across Australia now reaching a 3-year record high. Local butchers say meat eaters will now have to fork out more money for the next cut of beef.
The price of a family favourite soaring to new highs. With several supply chain issues and a decline in livestock numbers impacting supply, certain cuts of beef are becoming a luxury item.
We're looking at $24 a kilo at the moment for beef, which doesn't seem like a lot, but looking at last year in October, it was $10.65 per kilo, and looking at just January in 2020, it was $4.60 per kilo.
Foodland's CEO saying the recent drought has affected operations.
It's an industry issue, and that industry issue has come about from the head count on properties that the farmers are now having to build up. Over the drought, the farmers actually drop their head count.
He says an increase in diesel prices is also putting a strain on transport costs. However, the region's butchers are continuing to support local farmers.
Tumby Bay, we've managed to be able to survive. We buy a lot of stock ourselves from local farmers, which helps us out by buying local lamb and local pork. And we process a lot of the stuff ourselves here. We have a butcher shop we run across the road.
Despite Foodland willing to absorb some of the cost, consumers can expect the cost of beef to surge.
This hasn't finished yet for as long as until the herd gets back to its capacity from 2-3 years ago, the herd count. That will continue to place pressure.
Henry Millick, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Whyalla residents are asked to complete a survey in regards to on and off-leash dog spaces at the foreshore and across the city. Under the current arrangement, Ada Ryan Gardens and the foreshore from the Yacht Club to Dunstan Street is reserved for on-leash dogs. Dunstan Street through to the Mangroves is set aside for off-leash dog exercising. Council says feedback from the survey will be used to make a decision about which spaces are allocated. The survey closes on Monday the 14th of March. To have your say, visit Council's website. It was a big weekend of sport across the region, with a number of games going down to the wire, while some teams were put in their place in the lead up to finals. With all the details, our reporter Christian Komenos has this week's Sports Wrap.
With only a few rounds to the finals, things are starting to heat up in Port Pirie softball, with the Tigers sharpening their claws on the Cougars. The Tigers put a depleted Cougars side to the sword, smashing them by 12 runs. Maddie Baldock showed just how powerful she can be with her batting, getting 3 safe hits from 4 for the Tigers. Emily Gonsalves would have liked a better result in her 200th match for the Cougars. It was a much closer match between Checkmates and the Cats, with Melissa DiGeronimo and Jackie Beasley putting on a good batting performance. It wasn't enough for the Checkmates, with Hannah Scarman finding some luck and batted to get the winning runs for the Cats. Over to basketball in Port Augusta, and the Eagles and Wildcats played out a thriller. Max McKeough and Cooper Promnitz starred for the Wildcats, scoring more than 15 points each. The Eagles falling 4 points short at the siren. The Cobras' disappointing season continues, with the club yet to pencil in a win. There was promising signs, with Callan Blinman bagging 17 points, but it wasn't enough. The Titans comfortably winning by 23 points. Over to Whyalla basketball, and the Roos scored a thrilling 2-point win over the Braves. The Wildcats too made easy work of the Demons. And the Titans had an impressive win over the Wildcats 1, keeping them scoreless for the entire match. Turning to bowls now, where the Pirie Pennants took on teams across the Southern Flinders. Boucher made easy work on Melrose. O'Shaughnessy Blue faced off against Laura and won 105 shots to 79. Orroroo were too good for O'Shaughnessy Red, and the Royals rolled over Georgetown by 28. And finally to soccer, and a Whyalla select team hosted Adelaide-based club Seaford Rangers. The Rangers too strong for a spirited Whyalla side. That's it for this week's Sports Wrap. If you would like to see your team's results featured in our bulletin, then please let us know through our Facebook page.
Stay with us after the break. Broken Hill residents experience a delay to their waste collection process. And Alex Sykes will have all the local weather details. Hello again. Broken Hill residents had an extra wait today for their rubbish to be collected. The Broken Hill City Council taking to social media to confirm wayside collection was held up today, apologising for any inconvenience the delay caused. The curbside collection was expected to return to normal by this afternoon. Council encouraging ratepayers to check their website for any disruptions that may occur in the city in the future. Time now to take a look at what's happening in the weather across the Spencer Gulf and Broken Hill. With all the details and a sneak peek towards what we can expect this weekend, it's good evening this Tuesday evening to Alex Sykes.
Thanks, John, and good evening, everyone. There are a few showers about the region, which will hang around tomorrow, but it is set to clear late in the week. More detail on that in just a moment. Let's first take a look at today's conditions. From 3 p.m, Whyalla was cloudy and 26. Port Lincoln had a shower or two and was 21. Broken Hill was hot and sunny and reached 37 degrees. Looking further out across the region now, Port Augusta was partly cloudy and 28. Port Pirie was 30. Adelaide was 29. There were wet conditions for Woodner and Kadina, both 21. Clare was partly cloudy and 31, and Cooper Pedy reached 39 degrees. Taking a look at the satellite image now, a cloud band approaching the west with an upper trough is causing some showers to develop in the south, patchy cloud over the interior, with the surface trough is triggering some showers and storms. Clearer elsewhere with a dry air mass. Moving on to tomorrow's weather outlook now, and we'll start with the Gulf waters. Southeasterly winds 15 15 to 20 knots, seas 1 to 1.5 metres, and south to southwesterly swells below 1 metre. A shower between Port Lincoln tomorrow set to reach 25 degrees there. Cleve to reach 27, rain at times, and Woodna with 30 degrees. Possible shower in Whyalla with 27. Port Augusta will be partly cloudy and 29 degrees there. Kadina is set to reach 28. Partly cloudy in Port Pirie, we will get to 30 degrees. Clare is set to reach 25, and Broken Hill will be mostly sunny and set to reach 37 degrees. Taking a look further through the week now, partly cloudy in most parts on Thursday. Port Augusta and Woodna will both reach 27, while at 25. Cloud clearing in Broken Hill with 31, Port Pirie to reach 28, Port Lincoln 23. Sunny in Cooper Pedy and Broken Hill on Friday. Woodna will get to 29, mostly sunny in Port Augusta 26, Kadina 27. And the sun will be coming out in time for the weekend. Cooper Pedy 34, Port Pirie 29, partly cloudy in Port Lincoln 23 degrees. And that's all the weather from me for tonight. I'll see you soon with an update. It's back to you, John.
Thanks for that, Alex. And that's the local news this Tuesday evening. Thanks for joining us. I'll have updates later, and we will return tomorrow night at the usual time of 7 p.m. Until then, enjoy your evening here on 7. Good night.